For you lames, I got something to say. Suyo, Grill Pit. If you're here because you want to know the answer to the question I put out in social media. The question is the reported uptick in violence caused by Minneapolis PD's pullback. If you've seen the current story is this West Broadway area. And if you're not familiar with Minneapolis, it's the north side of Minneapolis. They're claiming that this area has had a lot of violence. We know that this area is an area. I mean, buses run up and down. There's quite a few bus stops going up downtown, going across town. It's popping, right? We know there's a Cubs, a Walgreens. We know a lot of things are happening over in that area. Yet and still these two businesses are being blamed. The reason this is an important conversation, the reason I jade down on this is because what's missing is an explanation of why. Why has everyone, I would say everyone, looked past the police as being the reason why there's an uptick. And the reason I utilize the word pullback, some communities might not understand, even when I explain what a pullback is. A pullback is the police not doing their jobs. This is real. I know white folks know, I've never had, and that's why it gets thick quick in this conversation, because it first needs to be qualified. So people don't think like this is hodgepodge bagage. He's just making up stuff. Black guy got some characters talking. No, this is a thing, and it's a phenomenon in communities of color, subjugated communities of colors, so they can make this thing work. They can make this over under policing. You've seen it, you heard about it, yet and still it hasn't been connected to an actual practice that the police do, right? So that I want to explain that, but I also want to make it more academic than I usually do, because I want people to walk away from this episode understanding that SAF Moe is right again. I'm not trying to make things look different for the purpose of sensationalism. I'm trying to draw out the facts so people don't keep walking away eating pistachio ice cream, inside joke. So with that being said, I want to make sure that we utilize first and foremost the theory of procedural justice. And with that will then explain why policing looks different in a predominantly so-called white and a predominantly so-called black area. And then once we get to that understanding, what that will do is make you understand how a police department can look legitimate in one area, look not legitimate in others areas. So you see policing from two different understanding. Then you can go further down and understand what over-policing, under-policing does to the community and the police respect in that community. And then we can go further down to understand why do we have a problem in this area, and why, yes, it is an uptick in crime, but it's not due to it's any more crime than usual. It's just because the police can't over-police those communities like they like, because they don't have we're going to just do our jobs. No, they're going to either over-police or they're going to under-police. With that being said, I'm going to come right back. Before I come back, I want to send a shout out to Storm. Hit Storm up on Snap. Storm hit me back. Storm's from Minneapolis. Get in the comment box, Storm. Sent her the link. She hit me back. She was like, why should I watch this? It's the pod out of Minneapolis, IDSTS. Hitting you with the current demo. And she was, good people. and said, hey, not only am I going to support you, I'm going to subscribe. So be like Storm. Don't be a lame. Be like Storm. Subscribe and kick it with I got something to say. I'm going to keep it as lively as I can. But, you know, if you're here to see me tap dance, you're here to see me tell jokes, you're here to see me rap, sing, any of those things. SAF Moe don't do none of that shit. SAF Moe give it to you raw, or he don't give it to you at all. Be right back. SIGS. Yes. Real. You feel me? You go ahead and say it now.
You in the grill pit, bitch.
Good job, baby.
One time, like this. But those who hop and make your one nigga straight loony after taking one.
Accepted quite a few Africans as deities.
Intersection in Minneapolis, Lyndale Avenue North and Broadway has become a hot spot for violent crime. This crossroads is home to a couple of businesses that have seen more than its share of violent crimes. Tonight, a local church that's been a quiet force for years is cranking up the volume to cut down the crime there. Our Karen Scullin explains.
Sanctuary Covenant Church had been prepared to buy out Merwin's liquor store, but that deal fell through, and right now the gun violence is only getting worse. Every day, all day, there's a crowd hanging out in front of Merwin's liquor store on Broadway. Many call that a magnet for gun violence.
All of their windows are blown out because of shootings that have occurred where people will drive by and shoot just directly into the crowd of loiterers that are in their front entrance.
Andrea Lee is with Sanctuary Covenant Church, which shares space with Merwin's. The church moved to Broadway in Lyndale 5 years ago. They say both at Merwin's and Winter Gas, the shootings and drug use is worse than ever. Within the last week or so, the corner was riddled with bullets with 8 people shot.
We are at a place now where the violence is continuing to escalate, while at the same time, the owners of the 2 businesses, the liquor store and the gas station, they seem uninterested in doing anything more than just making money.
Yesterday.
So this individual, I just stopped it real quick because this gentleman speaks on their responsibility for the loiterers in front of their stores. And I disagree with that conversation. I look at this individual pointing the blame at the stores because it's easier for him to point the blame at the stores than point it at the police at this particular juncture. What responsibilities do the stores have with individuals standing outside their stores? Loitering, supposedly, loitering is a term has been utilized in the Black communities for the longest. I can stand out in front of White store all day long from White without having the police come arrest me for loitering. But if I'm in a Black community, it's a crime to not be in motion. In the Black community, that comes from slavery. This comes from this individual, this Negro's interpretation of what he thinks loitering is. And it's not the fact, I'm not here to judge whether or not these individuals are loitering. I'm just saying that this church is being weaponized against the community, unbeknownst to them, and not looking for a solution other than relying on an institution that really does not care. Let's keep this going. This is your prison lawyer. You're in the
The church started a petition for the city to take a hard look at both Merwin's and Winter Gas, a place some in the community nicknamed the murder station.
And if it can be proven that it's negligent, we feel like their license should be revoked because the community deserves much better than what we're getting.
Now, I asked the church,
Now, I don't understand why he feels as though their license should be revoked. Other than their license expired, they've done something criminal. You can't, because remember I told you that that Cub is right across the street, a little bit down, but it's across the street. Walgreens right across the street, Ozone right across the street. There's quite a few businesses up and down the street. You also have the homeless right by the highway on all the corners over there, sitting in that area. But yet and still, these two businesses are responsible or the, I would say, ground zero for the violence that's coming over there. And I just told you, it's a hotbed for anybody who are, like I said, it's a main area as you move up and down through the city, back and forth across the city. You're going to come in contact with this area. Lindale is a popular bus route, and also the Broadway, because it's going across town. So you're going to find people being in that area. In fact, that you have a gas station, liquor store, one of the few areas where there are close in proximity to each other. You get your liquor and your blunt wraps, right? So in this area, it's chips too, you know. So of course you're going to get those individuals. So far as maybe I'm being speculative. As far as they're thinking that somehow they should start criminalizing these individuals and utilizing police to get rid of those individuals, to me, is not the solution. But let's just listen further.
They get any help from the city's Office of Violence Prevention? They said they did get some grant money that has allowed them to put up these mini gardens to help prevent loitering, as well as those concrete barriers to help block the Broadway entrance into the parking lot. But what they say they haven't gotten is any help from the OVP's violence interrupters.
So I have made inquiries as to why the violence interrupters have not been visible at our corner, and I have not received a satisfactory answer.
Pastor Williams and Lee just...
So now, in my mind, I think she did say something about the police. And not having in my mind, I think she did say something about the police and not having a presence. And the reason I say this is because if you guys have been watching, you see the older IGSTS, I got something to say for you lames, that you see me in front of that mural that they show over there. An interesting story to that mural. When I'm doing the taping for that mural, now, when I started this conversation off, you know, I'm SAF Moe, the prison lawyer. I don't have a JD. I don't have my criminal justice degree. None of these things. I'm speaking out of lived experience. So I had an incident over there in that area, and it brings me to further support my theory that it's a police pullback. So I'm in that area. I have a young bro with me, and he's taping me with the video demo, because when I got out of the joint, one of the places they sent me as I started moving my way back into the community was a halfway house right up the street. Just told you that area is a centrist area. We have the mosque, we have several re-entry places up and down that area. We have places where you can, where the workforce places. We have so many different things in that area, that surrounding area, that is a hub. Where so I'm in that area. So I wanted to show, as I came out of the joint, this is the area. This is an area where the halfway houses are. These are areas that they put you in back in the hood. And I walk those streets, right? I'm not originally from Minnesota, so this is not my hood, right? But SAF Moe can go anywhere, right? Kick the bobo, not afraid of my people, right? So I'm in there, I'm taking a bus, blah, Skippy, doing what I needed to do. So I'm videotaping that for the pod. So I go in front of that mirror, take a photo. I go in front of the liquor store where bro asked me for the lighter. I hit him with the lighter. And then I go to the bus stop where I catch the bus. So just some backdrop, some B-roll. And as I'm doing it, I'm not really paying attention to the parking lot demo. But young bro come across, because there's a gate between the bus stop and the parking lot. So young bro come up to the gate like, "Are you taping me?" And just struck me as wild. Like, what is you talking about? Camera's obviously being pointed at me, but young bro come up, "Are you taping me?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, we doing a podcast. It's about criminal justice. Woo, woo, woo. I was in the joint. Blah, blah, blah. I'm running the spill by him." Not really thinking nothing of it, because I'm from Chicago and I understand, like, right away it clicked, like, this bro in security. So I'm like, man, just relax, man. I'm ain't doing shit, man. I'm just trying to do the, I'm taking the, we doing the thing. And the guy with me pulled out the motherfucking IGSTS YouTube page. I told bro to sign up. And as I'm thinking about the whole demonstration, I'm like, the police is sitting right across the street in Winter's Gas. How the fuck is bro doing anything? If he's doing anything, how is he doing it? Police right across, they car park right across the street. You know, why? Who does that? It's going through my head. Like when I'm replaying the scenario in my mind. And listen, man, this is SAF Moe. You know, I'm a prison lawyer. You know, I've been on the block. So, you know, if y'all police ass motherfuckers listening to some shit, I ain't got shit to say about that. What they do over there is their business, right? They got to get out there and get their money. So it's all good. Got nothing to say. I ain't seen shit. But what I'm saying is, to me, it just struck me as wow. How he feel comfortable doing anything, even approaching me, you know, saying blase Skippy to me, like he on security. And they across the street. What you gonna do, young bro? You gonna pull out the thing in front of the motherfucking people? It's like that over there? I'm like, but it didn't, like I said, just these are the scenarios that's playing through my head, because when I was on the block, you know, even if I had bro on security, you know, all he doing is letting me know when them people come. People cross the street parked. So what the fuck is, so you monitoring, so you ain't really worried about them people. You worried about people that look like you coming on the block. Like what? So it just wowed me up. So that leads me to my personal experience over there with that demonstration. So it sort of makes this church conversation not even relevant at this particular juncture. So then now my personal feeling is the church is being weaponized against the community itself, right? They're being weaponized. They've been told who the bad people are. It's not the police, it's individuals. Really not the individuals or the community. It's these two businesses, and these two businesses must leave. But you must be a fucking idiot to believe that removing these two businesses is somehow going to stop the violence in that area, because that's what I mean by the wrong people being at the table, projecting the wrong solutions. So I initially told you that I wanted to base this conversation. I'm done with my personal lived experience. For you guys who want to be technical, I want to then look through the lens of procedural justice, and I want to preface that with race, because race makes procedural justice look different. Procedural justice on its onset is neutral, right? But when you add race to it, it changes how it looks. So for the white folks, when I said pull back, police pull back, what are you talking about? Hey, they don't. I call the police, they come. They do what they got to do. Black folks say, I call the police, they might come, they might not come, they might arrest me. I'm the one, victimize me. So that's what I say, but that's why I say procedural justice. And I want to start with that because I want to give everybody a lens to look through. So when they look through it, they can see where it splits. Because my conversation with policing has always been, the problem is not the policing, it's that policing looks different in different communities. And I've said it, and I want to be able to stand on it, but I also want to be able to defend myself against those individuals who jump in my comic box and want to be slick, right? So here we go. We know after the death of Mike Brown, the killing of Mike Brown, there was a presidential task force looking at policing because they really wanted to know. I could have told them, SAF Moe, prison lawyer, could have told them. They really wanted to know why Ferguson happened. Why was it? Why did it happen? So what they came up with is the procedural justice theory. And it's basically looks at they say the first pillar of good policing is trust and legitimacy. So right there when I said those words, if you're white, you see trust and legitimacy. If you're black, you see disrespect, not trust, and you see a force that's not legitimate. And automatically, and I can't change that. So So when that's being said, I wanted to start with that procedural justice looks like police being legitimate and trustworthy or not. That's how it looks. So this procedural justice, just by what I said, predicts that police practices that are seen and experienced to be respectful and accountable and unbiased helps increase trust and legitimizes and therefore decrease the need to engage in costly and minimally efficient approaches to social control based on deterrence, aggression, and intrusive surveillance. So right on that block, although they have not stopped what's going on, they know who's doing it, what's going on, because they have those blocks surveilled. They know. They can sit right in their police stations and see what happened. They don't need the police there. That's why they're not there, because they know who's doing what, and they have accepted it. That's where the blowback comes. So you can see the difference. Respectful, accountable, unbiased helps to increase trust and legitimacy, and those are found to be the opposite in communities, subjugated communities of color, and in that area, that's what we find. So now, so initially, start with, SAF Moe said, was a pullback. SAF Moe said these individuals, this church, is being weaponized against the community. SAF Moe said that the uptick is really not an uptick. It's all it is a pullback. We also seen that in this community, we can say that it has been, the social control is based on deterrence, aggression, and intrusiveness. And we see that in that community. Prior to them under-policing, they were over-policing. Over-policing looked like stop frisk. Police, it looked like aggressive behavior when they pulled you out of the car. It looked like 2 police officers in black gloves, maybe 4, pulling you over for a traffic stop. It looked like intimidation. So with that, delegitimizes the police force, and you have a different look because over and under policing. It's purposely, it's tactful, it's a tactic that's being done. So a predictor, a belief in the police legitimacy and people's willingness to be cooperative is procedural justice. How does that look? When it becomes racialized, it becomes a binary understanding, and some people see police as good, and some people see police as bad. For the most part, the community sees policing as necessary. Okay? All right. The police is the ones with the attitude, because if they can't, in subjugated communities, police the way they want to police, then in turn, what they do is they pull back. So again, I answered the question, yes, it's a pullback. I then turned and looked at the church and said that they are part and partial to the problem because they are being weaponized against these businesses. And I'm not sure if she said something about the police and these news, the reason we exist, IGSTS exists, is because what they are famous for doing is cutting out things. So she might have said the police are not around, or they're here and they're not being helpful. Or it's obvious that they're not policing. We just know that they utilize this to condemn community-led policing. And I have my feelings on that, but that's going to come later on down the line. But you can see that nobody mentions the police. We looked at 2 businesses that have no control of what's going on other than calling the police to victimize individuals, give them police records, fill up the jails because they're loitering. That's what the Negro said. They're loitering. Or we're going to remove these businesses' licenses for whatever reason, which makes no sense when they're not the problem. Go across the Cub. You ain't going to say shit about Cub. You're going to say shit about Walgreens. You're going to say shit about these businesses. I'm not even for these businesses because I don't even fucking shop at these businesses. But this is what the Negro's behavior is, and somehow it makes sense. to them. Let's fast forward. Let's go up. Let's just now see. I'm not finishing this demo with them. Let's just see about what they had to say about policing in Minneapolis as a whole. Now, if you're not from Minneapolis, north, south, downtown, North Loop, uptown, whatever, central, northeast, whatever. Minneapolis is nice. It's spread out, and North Minneapolis is where this incident occurred. To itself is an area, but we want to look at. I'm looking at now, not just specifically this area, but just policing in general. What we're going to look at and see what the deficiencies are. So. Let's play this.
Want some action. They want the city to step up before it's
It's been well publicized that Minneapolis has been struggling to fill a void of hundreds of police officers. And now questions are being raised over how MPD is using the resources they do have on the streets.
Fox 9's Mary McGuire poured through data from the last 3 years, which shows even after losing hundreds of officers, not much has changed when it comes to how and where they are deploying the officers. Mary, what did you find?
Well, Kelsey and Randy, like you mentioned, the Minneapolis Police Department has lost hundreds of officers in the 2 years since the murder of George Floyd. And that got us wondering how MPD is deploying the resources they do have. Data we requested from the department shows in large part MPD hasn't changed their staffing model to respond to times when crime is the highest.
More than 24 shots fired off inside and outside a crowded bar. Once the shooting finally stopped early Friday morning, 4 people were hit by gunfire, with one man fatally shot outside Bullwinkle's Saloon near the U of M campus. This incident just one of 4 separate shootings across Minneapolis from Thursday to Saturday, leaving 3 people dead and 11 others hurt.
It's a level of violence that is not only concerning, it's angering.
The shooting at 7 Corners marks the latest example in a string of violence across the 1st Precinct of Minneapolis, which spans downtown from the North Loop to Cedar Riverside. Over the last year, from carjackings to shots fired calls, crime there has spiked, with the majority of violence happening between 5 p.m. and 2 a.m. Data we requested from the city of Minneapolis shows the 1st Precinct has lost nearly 50 shifts since 2020, from officers working investigations, proactive beat cops, and those specifically focused on keeping the warehouse district safe during bar close. But with fewer officers on the force, questions are being raised over how MPD resources are being deployed. So we wanted to know, how many officers are working in specific precincts, and what time are they working? Also, how experienced are the officers working in parts of the city where crime is happening the most? We found despite the fact the majority of crime is happening during evening hours, Minneapolis police isn't shifting resources to cover the most demanding parts of the day. City data from July of this year reveals MPD is still staffing day, middle, and dog or overnight shifts at the 1st Precinct at relatively consistent levels throughout the day, with about 20 cops assigned to each of the 3 shifts. During those day shifts, our cameras finding officers stationed around retail stores and construction sites. And those records show the officers being assigned to what is perhaps the most demanding shift and location are among the most inexperienced in the department.
This is beefing up our conversation. So we know now that we have a problem with individuals being, their experience level being in critical situations. And a lot of that's union, right? So the union's gonna get, when you come into the union, it's through seniority, and you get the best shifts based on your seniority, as long as, based on your being there the longest. It's just how things work. We also know that we have what I'm calling a pullback also going on. So then when it comes to, a lot of the violence is happening at night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, 7, 8 o'clock, and it's going on in these areas, and we don't have enough police available. So that being said, so it could be part of the problem why the uptick has happened, and it could be easy to explain as being a personnel problem opposed to it being a pullback problem. So why would you say then it's a pullback opposed to personnel? Again, I utilize my own personal experience and say that I've seen it, but I'll go one step further and say that we know historically when we have areas where decrees have been lowered against states from the feds and the police departments are under scrutiny, then we see a pullback, right? Can't police the way we want to police. They want defund the police. Then we're going to show them what that looks like and give them a taste of their own medicine. Before we get too deep into that conversation, let's just build a little bit of foundation so we can see how differently police looks, and maybe some people could draw some identifiers and say maybe he's right, opposed to saying he's wrong because he dislikes the police, and that's the reason why he's taking this position, and he's not looking at the fact that there's a lack of personnel. There's a lack of personnel. I'm not going to dispute that, but it's a lack of personnel because the police behavior. People don't want to be police officers specifically because what they brought on themselves, their behaviors. So with that being said, let's just look at how policing looks different throughout different communities. So we initially talked about our indicator being procedural justice, and this dictates how people believe or don't believe in the police department. When I say believe, I'm saying legitimacy and people's willingness to cooperate and comply. So we know this looks different in different communities. So how does it look in a predominantly Caucasian community? So we can say that the individuals feel that the decision making is fair. They feel inclusive. They feel a status within the group of the police represents them. Well, the opposite group feels disrespected, biased, and discriminatory. And the decision making signals exclusion and denigration. So we know this exists. It's not like it's something that I'm making up. We know that that's why when you have a conversation with individuals white people Caucasian individuals don't understand why people of color, these subjugated communities, dislike the police so much. And they don't understand, but policing looks different. And that has always been my contention when I talk about making the correct. Like they're not looking at it from the standpoint of the harm that's being caused by the police historically. They're like, just pave over that. Let's just move on. Let's add all these supplemental departments, and we're going to make it right. That's not how you solve the problem. So when I show you the difference of how procedural justice looks, then I can say to you, and there's the phenomenon under and over policing that happens in communities of color. And this message that is sent is a message of neglect, underprotection, stigmatization, control, and we place that against a backdrop of structural racism. But this racially inflected identity relevant signals that racially target applications of procedures and distribution of justice and under-restricted use of authority produced and transmitted toward Black communities. So with that, over-under policing itself produces a psychosis or reaction, and the reaction is the distrust and the fact that the individuals who are being over-policed, under-policed, understand that they are the problem. Remember, we started with a long time ago. If you watch me, I talked about problem-orientated policing. So all this stuff is evident to these individuals who are experiencing it within their communities. What is a subjugated community? For those individuals who are saying, okay, you keep mentioning subjugated, racially subjugated communities. I'm talking about marginalized communities. I'm talking about Glendale and Broadway, right? These are marginalized. This area, this North Minneapolis has been marginalized. It's being marginalized based on color, based on economics, based on a lot of different things. It's being marginalized, and they're either subject to excess contact and excessive physical aggression from the police because they've been marginalized. What do you mean by marginalized? I just told you policing looks different depending on what community you're in. But the problem with that is that in the conversation that's not being had, that these people pay taxes. So why are they being over-policed or under-policed when they pay taxes just like everybody else, and they should receive the same type of, or have the same type of experience with the police that everybody has with the police? But we know right now that that because of they're being marginalized, placed in classes, lower class individuals, people of color, policing looks different in their areas. And this, in turn, has psychological effects. Last episode, I did talk about mental illness. But we also understand that being most men of color driving have an anxiousness, anxiety issues when police get behind them. Again, when police come on a block, all that is over policing. It forms, because you know this guy might call you to the car and might try to pin you. You might end up, your day might end up bad, right? You might be brought in for something that happened that you had you never had anything to do with, but you fit the description. We've seen that in Marvin Haynes' case, right? Just so you know that you could end up by being out and having a police officer pull you over. The next time you see the other side of the wall be 30 years. So we know that in our community. So a lot of it, what I mean when I say there's a lot of mental, physical, and I talked about prison being one of those situations that cause a lot of mental illness, but also being in the hood and dealing with the police. And that hasn't been talked about. Maybe I'll do an episode on this. SAF Moe, your prison lawyer. What I want to do now is just unpack this, but I want to also go into, because I spoke about decrees being initiated by the federal government. And what does a decree look like? It looks like the Minneapolis police being investigated. It looks like that. And then you can see that pushback. Gonna take a quick break, come right back, and we're gonna go a little bit further into this, but we're also gonna talk about what do you do? The reason why Keith Ellison was able to come in and save the day with this injunction that means nothing to anybody, basically charge these individuals with a nuisance statute, is because he knows his mayor has no control of the police department. Because the mayor knows that he understands that the police are pulling back, and he wants to be elected, so he's not going to say anything about it. But we know, it's obvious that they're not doing their jobs because they're upset because and this might be nationwide. And I know it's not specific to Minneapolis. It's specific to the fact that individuals in communities, subjugated communities of color, subjugated meaning these individuals have been excluded based on class, race. We find that in the area, in Minneapolis, north side of Minneapolis. It's a subjugated community. And they've been experiencing excess policing for the longest in those blocks. Now what their experience is under policing, specifically because it's a retaliatory, because individuals have spoken up and said, one, they want to defund the police, but two, they've looked at community-led alternatives to policing. And you heard the lady in the video mention violence interrupters. Also had Cure. And all these places, all these things are new to me. So I did do some research, but all these little spin-off alternatives to policing. I was looking for the term that Biden used. He used something to the extent of being experience-based, proven institutions, but they're all set up to fail at the end of the day. Because right now, I'm SAF Moe. You know I don't believe in the police. You know what I'm saying? I said fuck 12. But I understand that the only way, and I've had arguments and different disputes with individuals, but at the end of the day, I understand in this capitalist system, the only solution is policing. That's the only solution because you're dealing with historical harm. You're dealing with, people have no culture. You're dealing with individuals who have no money. You're being, and like I told you, right up the street, there's homeless individuals. So you're dealing with all this stuff in these communities. So if you bring an individual in without a gun to police it, I mean, come on, man, stop playing with me. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is you? That's foolishness. That's SAF Moe said that. I mean, you got a man with a gun, the man without a gun, he's gonna talk to the man with the gun based on street cred. Like, no, that shit does not go like that, right? But this is what they want to bring these communities. So she said violent interrupters, being on the corner, interrupting balance. What the fuck are these people supposed to do? That shit was a failure on its onset. To start, initially, it's not going to work. People are risking their lives, which is not smart at all. And I'm not saying to say violence begets violence, but I'm saying that in order to get a man's attention, you must have a gun. Right? That's the only way you're going to gain his attention. And that's the problem that's going on right now. Too many individuals having guns. And so the solution has never been to send unarmed black males into a community to be, I mean, it's a supplemental, right? It supplements what's going on. It has to be in conjunction with something, because this understanding that somehow this Martin Luther King nonviolent approach to things works. The only reason Martin Luther King worked, it was because you had a Malcolm X standing behind him. So as Martin Luther King spoke, he thought his words were making the people, galvanizing the people. But it was the fact that you had individuals like Malcolm X, I'm using him as a symbolic example, willing to say, you can deal with King or you can deal with us. And that's what these community-led organizations don't have. So, of course, they're destined to fail. This is SAF Moe, the prison lawyer. I'm going to be right back. And we're gonna hurry up and conclude this real fast. But thank you for staying. Further conversation about community, and when I say community, for you guys who understand the Lindale, Broadway, Winners, gas station, Merwin's liquor store, that area, those blocks, we first said subjugation, right? That area has been subjugated, alcohol. People are self-medicating themselves at alarming rates. A lot of that's due to mental illness. If you watch my show prior to it talking about it, you can understand a reference to it. But We also want to talk about excessive police contact in race, class, subjugated communities is associated with a range of negative outcomes. So men and boys of color in police besieged communities experience corrosive effects and domains as desperate as education achievements and mental health. So in the areas where we see subjugation, we see these huge disparities, but we also see it affecting men of color. We see a lot of different effects of that. The negative effects of excessive racially targeted police initiated contact in communities of color are further exaggerated by the excessive force that's often accompanies them. So remember I told you about decrees. So I initially started off saying that the procedural justice came out of the Michael Brown situation. So we see our connection between the subjugated communities of color. We also see over-policing being what initiates unarmed Black men being killed. So we drew our connection, right? We understand that a lot of times the outcome of over-policing is unarmed Black men being killed. And when that happens, because that's exactly how they feel they should be able to police in these communities, when they were hit, police departments are hit with the decree, the methodology is to back away because, of course, the community is going to say, we don't want you in our areas. So they're going to give them what they want. And we get an uptick. And newspaper broadcasting, news anchors, it becomes news. And white people say, okay, you said you didn't want policing. You have all these violent individuals in your community. So it keeps this fire, this fuel, this thing continually going. It's kind of like almost self-igniting, if I want to use that term, which I can, itself. So how does over-policing look? I mean, for some people, they know what it is. Some people might be coming to us, IGSTS family, not understanding it. And I want to bring you up to speed to what over-policing looks like. So we understand that force is significantly more likely to be used against suspects of color in street stops encountered than against white suspects. So we understand that. Because we started splitting it, we understand that policing looks different, and my stop will look different than your stop, specifically based on race. We understand that. We also want to say young Black adults report that such stops can be laced with violence. So here's where the over-policing comes in. We got threats, we have hyper-masculine and homophobic invectives, we have degrading and racial tinged language, and a lot of people can identify with it's not even a language, it's the fact that everything they seem upset when they stop us, and they seem to be overly aggressive with the handcuffs too tight. Why are you handcuffing me if it's just a stop? You know what I'm saying? Searching the vehicle for no reason. You know, you don't feel as though, here's come the stigmatization. You don't feel like you're a citizen in this country. You feel like it's an occupied force. So that's how policing looks different. And it goes right back to procedural justice, where the police is being legitimized. And are the police for you or against you? Because people see police for them, or they see themselves in the police, or they see that they can trust the police. And other people don't feel that way. Both individuals feeling that they need the police Yet and still, there's a hesitation when a woman might be being abused by an individual, understanding that when no police officers come into that household, that individual might end up killed, murdered. She might end up being taken to jail for no apparent reason. It just makes a volatile situation come off the Richter. So with that being said and understood, we see another effect of under and over policing. Individuals in subjugated community not calling the police or wanting to be part of the police department, understanding or cooperation with the police. They're a little bit less likely to call them, although they might need them, further victimizing themselves. And my question is to you is, if these Negroes want to get on TV and talk about all this stuff, and these community-led institutions and these businesses need to be getting out, and I'm talking about this church. My question is why are black people paying the same amount of taxes, but they're being treated like second-class citizens, not getting the same, not even having the same rights, not getting the same respect, but they're paying the same amount of fucking taxes? That's something we want to talk about. So now I'm just gonna move toward just making my point. I'm gonna utilize this article by ProPublic. It was an article written 2020, a couple of years ago, but it was it's coming out of the George Floyd incident, and we're talking about mayors being upset that the police has stopped doing their jobs. So again, I said, I'm not making anything up. I mean, if you guys want to be mad at me from coming up with this, be mad at me. It's real. I mean, if you want to turn a blind eye to it, eat your pistachio ice cream, walk down the street, act like it's not happening, it's up to you. Do what you feel. But I'm telling you right now, this is not new. They know what's going on. They just know that they can't really do anything about it, because at the end of the day, the police might not be working for those subjugated communities, but it's working for people who are not in those communities. And I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to even use race or color. I'm not going to use race or anything, but just to say that there are certain individuals who are being policed, and policing are working out well for them, and they don't have the same problem. So we know that in May, after George Floyd's death in Minneapolis, there was more than 110 people were shot in the city in the month following George Floyd, 8 fatally. And Atlanta, 106 were shot over a 28-day period ending July 11th. So we can see, and the reason these statistics, and I'm quoting this what can mayors do when the police stop doing their jobs, by ProPublica. And the author of the article is Alex McGillis.
This month, separate shootings outside the gas station wounded 8 victims, and investigators say the troubled corner of West Broadway and North Lyndale Avenues is plagued by drugs. WCCO's Reg Chapman shows us how a new partnership could finally change the intersection for good.
A quiet parking lot with no one loitering outside. The hope is this is the new normal for Merwin's Liquor. Store owners say they waited for months to announce a new partnership they hope will bring change to this troubled corner.
I said we started talking a couple of months ago. We just didn't say nothing publicly. So when people was calling like, so what are you guys doing? And they just didn't say nothing.
We Push for Peace founder Trey Pollard says he was approached by owner Stuart Tapper and his wife.
You know, they was looking for solutions as to trying to combat some of the things that's happening in this corridor. TXT would take over the day-to-day operations with a pathway to ownership. Now we can be directly in the file like we want to be, to provide the services that some of these young men and women can utilize.
Working behind the liquor store counter, we push for peace. The group will also provide
No, I'm not familiar. So SAF Moe, your prison lawyer, and I want to welcome you back. The technical part of it is done. So we did discuss procedural justice, racial procedural justice, and how that looks and how it makes policing legitimate in one community and not legitimate in the other community. And it's just based on the way police, right? We went a little bit further with it, and we talked about over and under policing. And that's the technical part. So now we're going to get into, as I support my argument, because remember initially my argument has always been that the violence that they say that this church over north is contributing to the individuals in that area is not the violence has not increased at all. What has happened is the police has stopped policing. With that being said, we call it right now, it's under policing, right? They want to over police, which they can't. Now they want to under police, which they can. And my conversation, my initial thesis statement is the uptick in violence reported in Minneapolis, the result from Minneapolis PD pullback. And like I said, I didn't want anybody to come to this platform and feel as though this is all me. This is me talking out the side of my neck, speculative talk, just opinionated. It is based on fact. So let's just talk about why I would say something like that and what it looks like, and how you can tell. What's the reasons behind it, I would say. So first and foremost, we know anytime the police as an organization receives their marching orders and it's not what they want, then they push back. So we know that what that looks like. What does it look like? It looks like a consent decree. With a consent decree, it might come from the feds. In this case, we saw the mayor come out with a slew of things that he started banning because he wanted to seem like he was this progressive individual. So what did he ban? In the article, a New York article, the New York Times article titled "In Minneapolis, Overhaul Efforts Stalled as Police Resist Change." As police resist change. Fitting title for what we're talking about, right? So this is not SAF Moe making this stuff up. People know about it. Why don't the individuals in that area talk about it? Maybe they did. Maybe it was scrubbed out of the actual interview that they had. So I'm not saying they did not say it. I'm just saying that they don't want to point to it when it's obvious, right? So what did the mayor ban? He banned chokeholds, restrictions on no-knock warrants, traffic stops. He stepped up who abused their power, stepped that up. So he in turn had pushback. He had officers filing PSTD claims, averaging $170,000 an officer. We don't talk about that. He saw a lot of officers retiring. He saw his force. These are all this is pushback, right? They don't want to do their jobs. He saw in 2010 to 2021, he saw 60 officers leave their posts, so they resigned before discipline actions could be filed against them. That's tactical. So you're seeing all these different things as they push back away from the decree or his executive orders telling them that the way you want to police, over policing cannot be done, and if you do it, you're going to get in. We're gonna file charges against you. They don't want to hear that. So that's where your pushback comes by the police as a union, to show them who has power. And then we can go further with that, right? Further with that conversation and say that and we can see even when the mayor makes these changes, executive orders, we still see police officers doing what they want to do. We saw a Mayor Locke situation, right? So promises to increase accountability for officers have yet to produce visible results. In March, after officials have repeatedly vowed to dismantle police union protections for the accused officers, the city approved a contract that raised officer pay but scarcely altered the disciplinary process. So we can see that as much as they talk about making a change and making these officers accountable, they can't. So that gets me back to the conversation we had initially, or what I said about the mayor not being able to control this police force. Now you got the Superman Ellison coming in, and he's trying to make it seem as though they're doing something about it, but he also understands that he needs to be elected, and for him to come out against the police at this particular time would be political suicide. So he's not. But all I wanted to say, so we know over there is not going to change because of the removal of the two businesses. That's all I want you to understand. The church is being weaponized. The church, in my conversation, has not filed any complaint that said that they've been harassed, their windows have been broken out, there has been any problems with their parishioners coming in and out. I mean, they haven't, but yet and still they want to look over there and say it's a nuisance. I mean, when's the last time they ran a food bank? When's the last time they went out there and consulted the homeless? When's the last time they went out there? They're not even in the community in engagement. So then what are you getting at? When I last left this episode, it left me kind of upset because usually I go into each one of these episodes attempting to present a problem, initially present a thesis statement within it, and is entwined a problem. From that problem, I try to lay it out as much as I possibly can and try to articulate it as best I can. And then from there, come up with some type of resolution for a solution, right? With this, it bothered me because I looked at that organization that was taking over the liquor store, and it didn't feel right to me that somehow that would be the solution. I talked about taking over the community, taking control of the city, re-engaging the community. And those are just words, they're platitudes, right? I mean, anybody can say it, but what does it look like, SAF Moe? What are you talking about? How would you, because I'm not putting myself on the spot. Because it's like I said, it's easy for fucking people to get on behind the camera and just spout out their chops and talk. Like, SAF Moe, do you walk the walk? I'm sure you asking. And I want to tell you, I do walk the walk on a demo. And what I guess what you would ask me, what would you do? You know, I would do this. It's real. To me because I find myself in these spaces, and I'm not hindered by political restraints. So I've seen it on multiple levels of how things transpire. And I mean transpire in the sense that how things transpire from a positive message to a worse resolution to the problem. And a lot of times that becomes too many hands are in a pot. So right now there's no hands in the pot. This is SAF Moe right in front of the camera, about to hit you with it. And so what does it look like? It looks like I would reinvest into the community, right? It's easy said than done, right? Again, just words. What would the structure look like in reinvesting into the community? What it looked like is that we know in a lot of DOCs, Minnesota's DOC specifically, that's what I can speak on, experienced. They have a carpentry program where these individuals are trained coming out of prison on how to build a house. They could take enough classes so when they come, they can put up a tiny house. Tiny house being they can put up a big house. So what I would start with the this is a long-term plan, a long-term plan that could be put in place now. Along with the putting the house together, the carpentry of it, electrical is important. Every aspect of a house, whether it's landscaping, whatever, be taught in institutions as a curriculum. As individuals come out, I would take them into these communities that have bandos. Bando for you lames is abandoned houses, foreclosed properties, properties in distress, properties in general on strips that need to be renovated. You know what I'm saying? Because you have willing hands. And a DOC, their only mindset is to utilize people's resources or utilize that individual resources to improve the DOC and take care of its stockholders or stakeholders within a DOC. So this takes a community to come up with this and engage the DOC and engage the state and stop these fucking idiots running around here, supermen running for election. You know, I'm not going to say no names. You know the fuck I'm talking about. And all these individuals who associate themselves with these individuals to really hold these individuals accountable and stop playing political games, right? Industry coming in, org coming in, taking over a liquor store doesn't solve the problem, but this does solve the problem. But I'm telling you right now, this does solve the problem. As individuals start to come out of prison, the DOC and the state of Minnesota would themselves invest in the communities, providing grants and monies for organizations or individuals to purchase those homes and then turn over the deeds or whatever to these individuals they harm through either over incarceration, whatever. They would have to set up a partnership purchasing these homes, and individuals would come in with plans to either turn those homes into reentry, halfway houses, ownership, bring communities in, families in, and have these felons that can't find housing and you're letting it go to slumlords purchase that community back. Hold up, wait a minute. Like I said, I started off SAF Moe. You started off being very divisive. Use that word, big word. You know what I'm saying? Divisive. You talked about black and white. You talked about police looking different. You talked about over policing, under policing. Okay, now you're talking about. I'm talking about refocusing. I'm talking about having the state grant out money to individuals based on them showing them a business plan. Teach a felon how to own a home. You know what I'm saying? Teach a felon like how to own a home. You start that in institutions because home ownerships build community. So fuck these two fucking places. I'm not even, like I said, I don't even give I understand that what they're trying to do is turn that area into a desert, push people out because they want that property. So what is our solution? This is resolution for solution. This is SAF Moe, President Lloyd giving it to you, right? Let's think about it, man. What we do is you press the state, you press the DOC, you press all these political candidates to turn over monies, put in a pot. You start giving out grants to people who are getting out of prison, who have business plans to come back and invest in the community. You start employing people for coming out of prisons to fix up those houses in that community. Why you say that, SAF Moe? Why does that make sense? Why you're not talking about these? You're not talking about the businesses, because once you give them a civic responsibility, because that'll be part of the curriculum, show them what it is to be a community member as they come out of prison. Show them what home ownership looks like. as they come out of prison, then you change the dynamic of that community slowly. Then we don't need policing anymore, because you don't need these individuals coming in without guns to police this area. No, because they own homes in this area. They have their children now are in that area. So we know who those individuals are, the knuckleheads that's causing problems, and we'll be able to at least establish a bedrock of individuals or community that could then utilize its synergy to spread out and then cure a lot of that. Because and I use the word cure correctly. I'm very conscious of words. I understand what words are. But I mean cure is because that area has not been healed for decades of over-policing, decades of sticking drugs in it, decades from stripping its core out, taking individuals out of that community and putting them in slave concentration camps for the benefit of the state. Hold up, wait a minute, SAF Moe. What? Hold up. I said putting them in slave concentration camps for the benefit of the state. The state owes that community a debt. The debt must be paid, and if you don't stop the bleeding now, North Minneapolis will look very different, I would say, in the next 10 years. Because this is tactical right now. What they're attempting to do is remove blacks, problem makers out of that community. Because if you notice, like I said, along the Mississippi, they're redeveloping. They want to get that area nice and tight for the new individuals that's coming in, right? And we had white flight. Now they're constructively producing black fight out of these communities that they want, that's close to the inner cities. With that said, SAF Moe, hey, I got a few people on my Snap. I'm about to pull up my Snap real quick so I get the names right real fast. We're fast in a hurry. Want to get some shouts out. First off, Regina Ward. What's up? You got the same name as me, so she got to be a winner. Maya, what's up, Maya? What's up? Shay, I'm looking for my girl on here. I'm not gonna be able to find her. I know today. Let me just find her real. Cammy Skyflower. What's up, Cammy? Cammy, I haven't really talked to you in person, so hopefully I'm saying your name right. If not, I'm sure. Get in my comment box and let me know. Brittany Rose, what's up, Brittany? Mercedes, what's up, girl? Candy Cane, what's up? So all my little Snapchat friends, I'll be sending you all out links. A lot of y'all been checking me out. I appreciate y'all. I just wanted to shout y'all out. Kelly Love, Nicole Griffin, Storm, what's up, Storm? I shouted you out before. When everybody be Storm hit me up in the box. Was like, hey, SAF Moe, I watch your show. Like, fucking doing it, Joe. It's SAF Moe, a lot of y'all live in Minnesota. I just want to let you know that just out of Minnesota, we do our best to try to shout out to my man Ron B in the middle. And that's my guy. Fucks with him, been with him for a long time. It's my brother from another mother. What's up, Ron B in the middle? What's up, fam? This SAF Moe. Like I said, I got some good shit coming out. I still got some cases I'm working on. I'm just trying to materialize them and flesh them out. I'm always gonna give it to you raw. I'm gonna give it to you all. Don't tap dance, don't sing, don't rap. I ain't got none of that shit for you. But I do got the facts. You know what I'm saying? Facts, not stats. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna keep bringing this to you. Let me go smoke. I'm about to go smoke something. You know what I'm saying? Y'all feel me? That's SAF Moe, your prison lawyer. And I'm out.
Good job, baby.
You're in a motherfucking grill pit.